Our local group started out in April officially under the Campaign for Liberty banner, and it started out then just kind of like we are here today. A couple people talking politics, frustrated. I think a lot of us can relate to this. But we came underneath the Campaign for Liberty banner, and we started doing things. We didn't know exactly what we were going to do. We started passing out literature. Eventually started putting on little events. Eventually we started meeting with our congressmen and women. And eventually, you know, we put on an event like this. So it's grown, it's going great, and I'm so happy that everyone is here tonight. So what is the Campaign for Liberty organization all about? You should all have a flyer here, and I won't bore with you the details and everything, although I don't think they are boring in the slightest. But I would like to point out to you our mission statement, and that can be found on the inside flap. The mission statement of the Campaign for Liberty is to promote and defend the great American principles of individual liberty, constitutional government, sound money, free markets, and a non-interventionist foreign policy by education and political activity. Now, I'll be the first to admit, not all of our members agree on all of those points. Not all of our members agree on foreign policy, not all of our members agree on the way sound money and everything else. But there is one thing that we all agree on. At least I think we all do. Hopefully, we're all here. And that is this, and it's this crazy notion that we, the people, institute government, that we have individual, God-given natural rights, and we give privileges to the government. And we believe that the government, and this is crazy, I know, this is going to be a really ludicrous statement that I'm about to make. We believe the government should follow its own rules. Can I get an amen? We believe the government should actually follow its own rules. At the United States level, that means the United States Constitution. If you're a state senator or representative, that means the state's Constitution. And down to the local level, we have corporate charters and everything else. We believe that the government should follow the rules because they're there, because we put them there. If you'd like to know a little bit more about the Campaign for Liberty, you can visit our website. Our local website is McLeanC4L.com. The national website is www.campaignforliberty.com. If you want to know what the Campaign for Liberty is all about in just one simple statement, you look at our name. It says Campaign for Liberty. That means every single day there's people out there, and what are they doing? They're campaigning. Not necessarily for political office. Maybe some of our members are, and that's great, and I highly encourage everyone to advocate liberty through that vehicle. But they're out there every day, campaigning for what? For liberty. So what is liberty? I mean, we all kind of know, right? What is freedom? Well, we all kind of know. But how many of us have really thought about it? And hopefully in this room, I might be speaking to the choir, so hopefully quite a few. But before I get to what liberty is, let me first talk through what liberty is not. Liberty is not having an FBI agent come into your home by writing his own search warrant right before he or she walks through the door. No, that's the Patriot Act. Liberty is not taking your money and giving it to private businesses who performed bad in business, and often, in a lot of AIG and a lot of these others, performed illegal actions. Liberty is not creating a national database of all of our names and information at the national level and requiring everyone to carry a national ID card, and yes, they are trying to pass things like that. Liberty is not the creation of new money out of thin air, over $2 trillion to be precise over the last 4, 5, 6 months. Liberty is not printing money to provide money to failing banks, therefore devaluing your dollar. Liberty is not the American people not even being allowed to know where this new money, these trillions of dollars, are going. That's not liberty, that's secrecy, that's tyranny. And we believe, and we've been pushing all throughout 2009, the Campaign for Liberty, that we should actually have a full audit of the Federal Reserve. Yeah. Let me talk about this audit real quick. Side note. This audit, it's been the most encouraging thing that I've had happen to me this year. To think that so many people would actually start questioning the Federal Reserve was beyond me. I thought, no one really cared. They had so much trust in the Federal Reserve to print out money to lessen the value of your dollar and everything. But so many people have gotten behind this. 75% of Americans agree that we should have an audit of the Federal Reserve. 15% refused to sign just because they didn't know as much about it. And when those people came and we were getting signatures for the audit of the Federal Reserve, we said, great. We encouraged them to go learn more about the Federal Reserve. So we believe that we can have an audit of the Federal Reserve. And September 25th, finally, after 290 co-sponsors, 290, this almost never happens in Congress. They pass it after 5, 10, 100 maybe co-sponsors. 290 out of the 435 members of the House of Representatives have co-sponsored this bill. And they're having hearings on it on September 25th, so I encourage you all to make sure you pay attention, read the papers on September 25th, and hopefully you can actually get this one-page bill passed and not put into some other big bill that will, unfortunately, probably give more powers to the Federal Reserve. So we need to pass this as a standalone bill. Getting back to my point, sorry for the side note, liberty is not paying a tax for the air you breathe and the electricity you use. No, that's cap and trade, and it's currently in the Senate. Liberty is not being stripped of your right to choose which healthcare provider you want. No, none of these things are liberty. None of these things are freedom. Because we live in a constitutional republic, and all of these bills that have been passed or they're trying to pass are unconstitutional. And therefore, instead of having this debate about, well, should we pass or should we not pass it, why don't we have a debate that says, well, is it listed in Article 1, Section 8, under the 18 enumerated powers that are listed in the Constitution? And if it's not, we should throw the bill out. And the reason for that is because we don't live in a democracy. Yes, we democratically elect our officials, but when they go to Washington, they take this thing called an oath. They promise, it's an oath, to defend and promote the Constitution of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not tradition, that's not just, for fun and games, it's an oath. And I think that they should actually follow that. So, what is liberty? Liberty is freedom. Liberty is rights, and they're individual. That means each one of you have them. They're not collective. You have the right to choose your own destiny. You have the right to make your own decisions. Generally, you have the right, you have the liberty, the freedom to do what you want to do, as long as you don't do what? What's that? If you don't, there, very good, right here in the front. If you don't violate other people's rights. That means I have a right to my freedom, my liberty to do what I want to do, but I can't go over to my neighbor and steal something from their place. I can't go and attack them because I'm infringing upon their rights. Unfortunately, many of our elected officials think that we are a democracy and continually to vote unconstitutionally. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is liberty. It is individual, God-given, inalienable rights. And I want to say something because I know a lot of you are probably frustrated with the way things have been going, if you're like me at least, this unconstitutional things and they are continuing to infringe upon your rights. If you're at all frustrated, I would give you this. And I read this in a little kind of a magazine called Common Sense Revisited. And I can't remember the exact words, but basically the gist of the story was, no matter how tyrannical your government gets, no matter how much they try to infringe upon your rights, I don't care if they throw you in jail someday for sticking up for your freedoms, you always have liberty in your heart. It remains, it's an individual right, it's an individual freedom, it's within you. And I can take solace in that. However, until we're in jail, and while we have many of our rights still here, we can't express ourselves, we can't talk about these things right here and now, let's get out there. Let's change this. Let's tell people about the difference between a constitutional republic and a democracy. I believe we can do it, and I believe we must. So this is what the Campaign for Liberty stands for people to be free, and we think that we should do something about it and spread the message. A novel concept.